Kamusta? Naway nasa mabuti kayong kalagayan. Welcome back to the channel. This is the House of Law. Thank you very much for watching my videos and for subscribing to my channel. If you're new here, you know what to do. Please subscribe and click that notification bell so that you will be notified in case I upload a new video. It's February 14, 2021. So, happy Valentine's to everyone. Naka-blue ako ngayon pero hindi ibig sabihin I'm blue. So, we are in love just like everybody else. So, I hope everyone will enjoy the day and affirm their faith in love. Ayan. So, in this video, I will talk about succession or inheritance. This is part 1 where I will talk about succession through a last will or testament or simply a will. In part 2, I will talk about succession without a will or yung tatawag na succession by operation of law. Okay, so if there are two important incidents of property ownership, that would have to be the right to acquire ownership as well as the right to dispose property. By the right of acquiring property, a person has the freedom and the capacity to acquire and own property, whether by sale, by donation, or by any other means like succession. Property is a basic right. That's why Section 1, Article 3 of the 1987 Constitution provides that no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. Now, property is not limited to material things like your shoes, your car, or your house. In fact, your job or work is also considered property. Anything that adds to your wealth or your economic well-being is considered property. That's why unless the thing is prohibited by law, customs, or morals, you can have whatever you want and keep it. Now, the second incident of property ownership is the right to dispose property. It refers to the right to give away or transmit property by sale, donation, or by any other means such as a will. So let's talk about disposing property by will. Now, as defined, a will is an act whereby a person is permitted within the formalities prescribed by law to control to a certain degree the disposition of his estate to take effect after his death. So may dalawang uri ng wills. Una ay yung tinatawag na notarial will na dapat ay ginawa ng testator ayon sa mga formal requirements na nakasaad sa batas. Pag-uusapan natin kung ano itong mga formal requirements later on. Pangalawa ay yung tinatawag na holographic will o yung gawa sa sulat kamay ng testator. Now, some things to remember about wills. First, it is a unilateral and personal act. Only the testator can decide what to give and who to give them. It cannot be made by someone else. Second, it is a free and voluntary act. A will done through force, intimidation, or undue influence is void and ineffective. Also, it is revocable during the lifetime of the testator. Ang ibig sabihin nito, the testator can change it, can recall it, provided it is done before his death. So, sino ang pwedeng gumawa ng wills? Whether this be a notarial will or a holographic will. Una, kahit sino na may edad na 18 years old pataas. At pangalawa, dapat nasa tamang pag-iisip at nauunawaan ang karakter ng kanyang ginagawang will, ang kanyang pagmamayari at kung sino ang tatanggap nito. Ano naman ang mga common formal requirements ng will, man notarial will man ito o holographic will? First, it must be in writing, and second, it must be in a language or dialect that is known to the testator. So, kanina nabanggit ko kung ano yung mga formal requirements pagka gumawa ng notarial will. Una, it must be signed by the testator personally or by someone in the presence of the testator or upon the testator's direction or instruction. Pangalawa, it must be witnessed by at least 3 persons who must sign in the will in the presence of the testator. Pangatlo, every page of the will must be numbered. At pang-apat, it must be notarized. Ibig sabihin, it must be acknowledged before the notary public by the testator and his witnesses. Meanwhile, dun naman sa holographic will na gawa sa sulat kamay ng testator, ito yung mga requirements. First, it must be written in a language or dialect known to the testator. It must be entirely written by the testator. It must be dated by him, it must be signed by him, and it must be done with the animus testandi or the intention to make a will. Yan, those are the requirements. Now, paano naman kung hindi nasunod yung mga formal requirements? Ang sabi ng Supreme Court, dapat maging lenient o liberal pagdating sa mga requirements na to. Ang mahalaga ay bigyang bisa ang mga habilin ng testator. Thus, according to Article 809 of the Civil Code, in the absence of bad faith, forgery, fraud, or undue or improper pressure and influence, defects and imperfections in the form of attestation or in the language used therein shall not render the will invalid, provided it is proved that the will was in fact executed and attested in substantial compliance with all the legal requirements. So what properties can a person dispose by will? Well, a testator can dispose that part of his estate called the free portion. Generally, it is 50% of the estate because the other 50% is reserved for his compulsory heirs tulad ng kanyang asawa at kanyang mga anak, whether it's legitimate or illegitimate. Kung ano tong free portion na to, malalaman yan at the time of death at kung may settlement of the estate na. In the meantime, a qualified person is free to prepare a will. So there, if you have properties and you want to leave them to specific persons, then execute a will. It's your right and your wish is their command. That's it for part 1. See you next time for part 2. If you learned something from this video, please drop a like and please don't forget to subscribe. Laging tatandaan, isip ay buksan, alamin ang batas.